When I walked into our bedroom and saw the closet door move, just slightly, just enough, I knew. Not suspected, knew. It wasn't the kind of knowledge you rationalize or question. It was a deep, full-body awareness, like how you just know the stove is still hot even before you touch it. That instinctive jolt in your chest. That breath you forget to take. My wife stood by the bed, hands behind her back like a child caught near broken glass. Her mouth opened, halfway between a lie and a plea, and then she said it. It's not what you think. It was those 5 words, not the man in the closet, that broke me. She could have said nothing. She could have gasped, cried, even screamed. But she didn't. She went straight for control, as if she still had any. I smiled, small, tired, and walked over to her nightstand. The same one where, last month, I left a necklace for our anniversary, and she said she hadn't noticed. Of course not. She'd been busy, distracted. At the time, I told myself not to take it personally. Now I did. I reached for my phone, turned to the closet, and raised it like a weapon. No words. Just one click. Flash. The soft pop of the photo capturing truth. Now it was what I thought. Her face collapsed in on itself, like a building detonated from within. No more pretending. No more exits. He stepped out slowly, shirtless, barefoot, young. Maybe early 30s. I was 42. His eyes darted like a trapped animal's, and for a second, I thought he might bolt through the window. That would have been cleaner. But he just stood there, shame clinging to his skin. I said nothing to him. Not yet. Instead, I looked at her. Not with rage, not even sorrow. With study, like I was meeting her for the first time. She wore my favorite sweater. My gray one. The one she always said was too big for her, but she'd borrow it on cold nights. The one I wrapped around her shoulders when we watched old movies. I stared at it now like it belonged to someone else. I can explain, she said. No. I replied quietly. You'll try? That's not the same. She took a step forward, then stopped. Maybe she saw it in my face, the stillness. Not passive, but settled. Men don't cry when they're still. We decide. Let me rewind. 3 months earlier, she changed her shampoo. That's where it started. I noticed because I noticed things. The scent was different, sharper, floral. Not her usual warm vanilla. I asked. She shrugged. Just trying something new. The little things came next. A longer shower here, an odd smile there. The phone turned upside down on the table. Passwords changed. The way she laughed when she texted someone and forgot I was in the room. And yet, I stayed quiet. Not because I was naive, but because silence can be a strategy. When you move too fast, people lie without pressure. But if you wait, they confess in the spaces between their stories. So I watched. I tested small boundaries, late returns, surprise lunches. Once, I kissed her neck while she was texting and she flinched. Not from discomfort, but guilt. It was so slight I nearly missed it. Nearly. That's when I bought the camera. A tiny one, hidden in a smoke detector above the bed. Another near the front door. I told myself it was paranoia, that I wouldn't use the footage unless I had to. I didn't have to wait long. A week ago, I saw him enter. Twice. The second time, he carried wine. She wore that same sweater. They laughed like teenagers. No guilt. Just indulgence. But I didn't react. Not then. That's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't shatter you immediately. It drips. Slow. Quiet. Like water seeping through a ceiling. Until one morning, the whole roof caves in and you're drenched, stunned, standing in the ruin. Tonight was that morning. She reached for my hand. I let her. Her fingers trembled. Please don't do this. Don't make a scene. Me? I said. I'm not the one who hid a man in a closet. The guy, still shirtless, shifted uncomfortably. He looked like he wanted to apologize, but knew he didn't have the right words. Or maybe he realized he wasn't the story here. She was. Get out, I told him. He nodded and grabbed his shoes, never making eye contact. No words exchanged. Just the thud of retreat. Once he was gone, she turned toward me like a woman waking from a trance. Please, she whispered. It was a mistake. Which part? I asked. Letting him in? Or thinking I wouldn't notice? She opened her mouth again. Maybe to lie, maybe to beg, but I raised a hand. Don't. She lowered her gaze. And for the first time in a long time, she looked small. Not fragile. Just exposed. I walked to the dresser, opened the second drawer, and pulled out the envelope. Thick. Heavy. Inside were printouts, photos, messages, timestamps. Weeks of proof. I handed it to her. She didn't touch it. What is this? She asked. Reality, I said. Not what you think. Just what it is. I left the envelope on the bed and walked toward the door. Where are you going? She called out, voice cracking. I didn't turn around. Someplace honest. I didn't go far. Just down the street, into the car, engine off, seat reclined. It was the first real quiet I'd had in weeks. Maybe months. No traffic. No texts. Just me, the night, and the faint scent of her perfume still on my shirt. Lavender, twisted now into something sour. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there. It's strange how fast a marriage can go from sacred to surgical. 1 minute you're choosing tile for a bathroom renovation, and the next you're hiding your evidence like contraband. But I wasn't angry, not in the way people expect. My rage had expired weeks ago, bled out slowly while I collected screenshots in silence. What was left now was weight. Cold. Dense. I thumbed through the photos again. Him entering our house. Her at the window, smiling. A timestamp at 1:43 a.m., our bedroom light flickering off. I took the flash photo earlier that evening not to shame her, but to remind myself I wasn't losing my mind. Because for a while there, I thought I was. You ever feel gaslit by someone's kindness? The way she still kissed me goodnight. Still texted drive safe every morning. Still wore her ring. But the warmth felt borrowed. Like she'd rented affection from somewhere else and returned it before I noticed the charge. 2 hours passed in the car before I turned the key. I didn't go home. Not yet. I drove to my brother's place across town. Derek, 2 years younger, divorced, suspiciously stocked with bourbon. When he opened the door, he didn't ask. He just stepped aside and handed me a glass. You staying tonight? He asked. I don't think I'm going back, I said. He nodded. Guest bed's clean. Top shelf's yours. We didn't talk much that night. We didn't need to. There's something sacred about the silence between men who've both been lied to by someone they once loved. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, picturing her face the moment I took that photo. That flicker in her eyes. Not panic, not fear. Recognition. She knew the game was over. That no amount of spin could erase what I'd seen. But I also knew her. She wasn't the type to collapse. She'd rebuild, reframe, rewrite. And sure enough, the text came in by morning. 8:12 a.m. Can we talk? Please. I owe you an explanation. 9:30 a.m. I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. 11:04 a.m. I never stopped loving you. Love doesn't fit itself into a closet when it hears keys in the door. I didn't respond. Not yet. I needed to think clearly, without her voice in my head or the memory of her laugh warming old spaces. So I did what men do when they're breaking but can't afford to shatter. I went to work. I walked into the office like nothing had happened. People smiled. I smiled back. My assistant handed me coffee. I thanked her. The performance was seamless. But underneath it all, my thoughts spiraled. You start replaying every moment. The late meetings. The weekend yoga retreats. The sudden urgency to buy new lingerie and the bizarre insistence on sleeping with the window open even in December. Like she needed the excuse of blankets to hide distance. It's incredible what you excuse when you love someone. That evening, I drove back to the house. Not to talk. To observe. I parked 2 houses down and waited. 10 minutes later, the lights in the living room turned on. She moved through the house like nothing had changed. Hair tied up. Hoodie on. Folding laundry. Just another Tuesday. Then I saw her pause, hold her phone to her chest, and sit down. She was crying. And I felt nothing. No urge to run in and comfort her. No ache to undo this. Just the kind of stillness that follows the sound of glass breaking. The next morning, I went in. She was in the kitchen, pouring coffee into a mug I bought her on our 5th anniversary. Love you more, written in fading gold script. I stood there, watching her stir the cream in slow circles, like she could pretend this was normal. She looked up and smiled, tentative. You came back. I didn't say I was staying. She nodded. Fair. We sat across from each other in silence. Her eyes swollen from crying, mine just tired. I pulled out the photo, the one I'd taken the night before. Her. Him. The closet door still swinging. I'm not here to scream, I said, or beg, or fix this. Then why are you here? She whispered. Because I want to understand how we got here. She looked down. You were distant. Lately. You've been so busy, so focused on work. I felt alone. I almost laughed. That word, alone, coming from someone who filled the silence with someone else's breath. You didn't tell me you were lonely, I said. I tried. When she didn't answer. Because she hadn't. Because what she really meant was, I didn't like the version of myself I saw in our marriage, so I went looking for a mirror that lied better. I didn't plan it, she whispered. It just happened. That's the thing about betrayal. It's never planned. It's permitted. Over time. In inches. Until the line between right and wrong blurs just enough for the door to open and someone else to step inside your life. Barefoot, smiling, and uninvited. She reached across the table and touched my hand. I still love you. I didn't move. You may, I said. But that love now has a scar. One I didn't give it. She started to cry again. And this time, I stood up. I'll be back for my things tomorrow, I said. And I left. I didn't take everything when I came back the next day. Just what was mine before her. My records. My books. The guitar she never liked. The old leather bag from college she once said smelled like dorm room and regret. I left behind the sweater she wore that night. The one that used to be mine. It wasn't anymore. She sat on the edge of the bed while I packed. She didn't speak. Just watched like she was trying to memorize me. And maybe she was. Because people only start noticing the small things when they realize they might never see them again. The way I folded shirts into thirds. The way I paused to double-check the zipper on my bag. The way I didn't look at her, not really. Not because I hated her, but because I didn't want to remember this version of her. The one still waiting for a rewind button that would never exist. I zipped the last bag and stood. Do you want to say anything? She asked. I already did. When I stayed faithful, I said. When I showed up. When I trusted you with silence and you gave it to someone else. She stood too. Close now. Too close. I was weak, she whispered. I know that. You were dishonest, I corrected. There's a difference. Tears welled again. This time, I didn't stay to watch them fall. At the door, I paused. Something inside me, stubborn, soft, maybe still foolish, wanted to say something kind. Something like take care, or I hope you heal. But the truth is, I didn't know if I hoped that. Because healing is hard. And part of me wondered if she'd really do the work, or just rewrite the story in her mind. One where I had been distant, cold, detached. Easier to live with a version where she was the victim of a loveless home than the architect of a betrayal. I opened the door, and she reached for me. Just a brush of her fingers on my arm. Do you really think this is the end? She asked, a flicker of hope behind the sadness. I turned and looked her straight in the eye. You remember what you said when I found him? I asked. She blinked. What? In the bedroom. That first second. You said, it's not what you think. She nodded slowly, already bracing. I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out my phone, and showed her the photo again. The flashlit image of her, the man, the open closet. I smiled, took this picture, and said, now it is, I said. And then I did something she didn't expect. I deleted it. Right in front of her. One click. Gone. You don't get to carry this, I said. Not forever. I don't need evidence to know who I am. I only needed it to know who you were. She broke then, not the performative kind, not the tears meant to draw sympathy, but the real kind. The collapse. The folding in. The gasping. But it wasn't my job to hold her anymore. I stepped outside, closed the door behind me, and stood on the porch for a long minute, feeling the weight shift off my chest. The kind of weight you don't even know you're carrying until you set it down. The wind was cool. The street was quiet. I got in the car, started the engine, drove. No music, no destination, just the sound of tires rolling into a future I hadn't imagined before, but could now see clearly. Freedom doesn't always look like celebration. Sometimes it just looks like one bag, one step, and the simple decision to never return to a room that once held everything, and then hit a stranger in its closet.